Most horror games want to scare you. These ones, they linger. Not every nightmare shows up in the spotlight. Some slip quietly under the radar, crawl through the cracks, and haunt the players who dared to find them. These are the horror games you probably missed, but never truly escaped. No overhyped trailers, no marketing blitz, just raw dread, twisted ideas, and unforgettable vibes that crept into your subconscious when no one was looking. Hey, it's Chris from HiddenPatch, and today we're diving into the horror games that didn't scream for attention, but still clawed their way into gaming history. Some of these titles are criminally underrated, others just misunderstood, but they all share one thing. They're still whispering in someone's head, somewhere. Let's begin.
You ever play a horror game that makes you feel unsafe, even when nothing's happening? That's Darkwood, a top-down survival horror experience that does more with shadows, sound, and stillness than most AAA screamfests ever could. Released in 2017, this game didn't ride the hype wave. It earned its cult following through word of mouth, pixelated nightmares, and psychological decay. Set in a grotesque, ever-twisting forest where the sun barely shines, you're not just fighting off monsters, you're fighting off madness. There's no hand-holding, no jump scares, and no real safety. Every night you board up your hideout, hoping it'll hold. Every day you scavenge, barter, and pray the woods don't change again, because they always change. But what truly sets Darkwood apart? It's how it handles fear. It doesn't show you everything, it implies things. You hear something behind the door. You see something twitch at the edge of your cone of vision. And when something finally does break through, it's almost a relief, because the anticipation was worse. It's horror through absence, and that makes it unforgettable.
All right, for this game, you clock in at a morgue. You perform routine embalming, and then the lights flicker. The Mortuary Assistant is one of the most psychologically disturbing horror games in recent years, and it almost slipped right by the mainstream. No jump scare parade, no over-the-top monsters. Just one woman, one mortuary, and one demon that doesn't want to leave. The setup is simple. You've just started a night shift, alone, preparing corpses. But something isn't right. The bodies start to move, the lights lie, your memories twist. What makes this game stand out isn't just its scares, it's how personal they feel. The horror evolves based on your actions. Sometimes it's subtle, a shadow that wasn't there before. Other times, you'll be mid-embalming and a voice will whisper your name. The best part? Every playthrough is different. The game randomizes its scares, its demon types, and even its narrative paths. You're not just checking boxes. You're constantly second-guessing your own mind. Is that body really the one possessed? Or is the game tricking you again? The Mortuary Assistant is short, focused, and relentlessly unsettling. The kind of game that gets under your skin and stays there. If you miss this one, good. That means the nightmare is still fresh.
Okay, now for this game, it isn't your typical 2D horror game with pixel blood and chase sequences. Detention is something else. Something far more disturbing. Set in 1960s Taiwan during the White Terror, this game uses real historical trauma as the foundation for its psychological horror. You play as a student trapped in an abandoned school, but the real terror doesn't come from the ghosts. It comes from the memories, from guilt, from silence. As you explore, Detention peels back layers of political oppression, cultural superstition, and personal regret until you're not even sure what's real anymore. The art style? Gorgeous in a broken, decaying kind of way. Traditional Chinese ink painting meets nightmarish hallucinations. And the sound design? Minimal, but surgical. Wind howls through empty halls. A distant chant echoes in a forbidden shrine. And every creak feels like it's accusing you of something. It's a slow burn. No jump scares, no boss fights, just a suffocating atmosphere that wraps around your chest and refuses to let go. It's the kind of horror game that haunts you with what it doesn't show. And by the end, you realize the scariest thing in Detention is the truth. All right, if Darkwood made you feel uneasy, this one? It'll straight up ruin your appetite. Fear and Hunger 2 Termina is the kind of game that doesn't just play like a nightmare, it feels like one. It's turn-based, it's pixel art, but don't let that fool you. Underneath the retro aesthetic is a grimy, violent, soul-destroying survival horror RPG that makes most modern games feel safe by comparison. You play as one of 14 characters stuck in a cursed town during something called the Termina Festival. Sounds festive, right? It's not. The festival is a ritual, and the only way to survive is to kill or be killed. That includes everyone. Other players, friendly NPCs, and godlike beings that make Pyramid Head look like a mascot. Mechanics-wise, it's brutal. There's permadeath. Limbs can be severed. Sanity systems twist your perception. And combat? It's strategic and savage. Every fight is a gamble. One wrong move and you're not just dead, you're humiliated. And the world building? It's deep, weird, and disturbing. Lovecraft meets Silent Hill in a drug-induced fever dream. There are occult rituals, dream dimensions, and morally gray decisions that will make you pause the game and just stare at the wall for a bit. This isn't horror you consume. This is horror that consumes you. Termina is disgusting, depressing, and dangerously unforgettable. And if you finish it, you'll never look at RPGs the same way again. Let's shift gears a bit, from cursed towns to cursed corporations. Yuppie Psycho is what happens when you mash up The Office, American Psycho, and Silent Hill, then run it through a coffee-stained fax machine from hell. It's weird, it's funny, it's terrifying, and somehow it all works. You play as Brian Pasternak, a nervous, low-level nobody who just got hired at Cintracorp, a massive mega corporation. But on your first day, you're told your real job is to hunt a witch. Not file reports, not attend meetings, hunt a witch. And that's just the onboarding process. The horror here isn't just gore or jump scares. It's corporate anxiety dialed up to 11. Navigating office politics becomes a literal nightmare. Hallways stretch infinitely. Copiers scream. Elevators bleed. And your coworkers? Either too brainwashed to notice or too far gone to save. The pixel art style is clean and expressive, with lighting and animations that make the office setting feel claustrophobic and surreal. The sound design's phenomenal. Creaky floors, buzzing monitors, and whispers that make you check behind your chair. There's also a sharp satirical edge throughout. The horror isn't just supernatural, it's capitalism. Yuppie Psycho flew under the radar because people thought it was just a quirky indie game. But underneath that fluorescent lighting is a terrifyingly creative horror experience that skewers both workplace culture and your sanity. All right, now we're going deep into the Alps and straight into hand-drawn horror. Mundown is one of the most visually unique horror games you'll ever see. Every texture in the game, every rock, every face, every nightmare-fueled creature is pencil-sketched by hand. Black and white, cross-hatched and raw. It's like walking through a haunted notebook where every scribble is cursed. You play as a man returning to a remote Swiss village after his grandfather's mysterious death in a barn fire, but something's wrong. The townsfolk are off. The mountains whisper, and reality itself seems to buckle the higher you climb. This isn't a fast-paced, monster-chasing type of horror. Mundown is slow, creeping dread. It leans into folklore, with references to European myths, ancient rituals, and alpine spirits that want more than your soul. The puzzles are grounded in the environment, finding old keys, decoding rituals, navigating frozen fields where your shadow doesn't always match your movement. And here's the twist. Fear has a literal effect on your character. The more scared you are, the harder it is to aim or move precisely. You feel the panic set in. It's not just a mechanic, it's psychological pressure. Mundown didn't get much attention when it launched, and that's a crime. It's one of the most artistically committed horror games in years. A true one-of-a-kind experience that proves horror doesn't need to be loud or gory to mess you up. Quick breather, because if you've made it this far, you're either a horror veteran or just love torturing yourself. Now's your chance to prove it. Secret achievement unlocked. Don't open that door. Drop a very specific phrase in the comments. Real ones will know what it means. And while you're here, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so the algorithm doesn't ghost us. All right, ready to step back into the darkness?
Let's keep going.
All right, this game, Lone Survivor, is what you'd get if Silent Hill had a baby with a pixel art fever dream and raised it on insomnia and isolation. Developed by Jasper Byrne, this 2D survival horror game came out in 2012 and proved that low-res visuals can be just as terrifying as photorealistic gore. You play as an unnamed protagonist in a plague-ravaged city, slowly losing grip on reality as you scavenge for food, avoid monsters, and try to piece together what actually happened. What makes Lone Survivor so haunting isn't just the atmosphere, it's how deeply psychological the horror is. The game messes with your head. Are those hallucinations? Are you really helping people? Or is this all just one massive descent into madness? You've got limited resources, branching choices, and multiple endings based on your mental health, not just your actions. It doesn't scream horror, it whispers it. And that whisper stays in your brain long after you turn it off. In a genre packed with over-the-top frights and scream-heavy marketing, Lone Survivor stands out by doing the opposite. It's quiet, it's eerie, and it slowly burrows under your skin until you're not sure if you're the survivor or just another ghost wandering the ruins. All right, let me ask you guys something. You ever play a game that looks like it came out of the PS1 era, but somehow feels like it's from the future? That's Dread Delusion. This open-world horror RPG takes one look at modern graphical fidelity and says, nah, we're going full retro weirdness. But don't let the lo-fi visuals fool you. This game has world building deeper than most AAA titles. Set in a floating, rotting world ruled by decaying gods and cults, you're dropped into a universe where reality feels warped from the start. The sky isn't quite the right color, people talk in riddles, and everything hums with this offbeat, dreamlike energy, like Morrowind got possessed by Bloodborne. What really sets Dread Delusion apart is how it handles exploration. It's not about combat or power fantasy progression. It's about discovery, strange encounters, and that creeping feeling that something is just wrong. You're constantly piecing together scraps of lore that feel like they were never meant to be found. And the more you learn, the less comfort it brings. It's horror by way of atmosphere and dread, not jump scares. And it doesn't care if you're uncomfortable. In fact, it wants you to be. Before we hit our final game, here's one that nearly made the main list, but it still deserves a spotlight in the dark. Signalis is the kind of game that slips under the radar but stays in your head long after the credits roll. A retro-style sci-fi survival horror game that blends Resident Evil mechanics with Silent Hill atmosphere and then injects a healthy dose of existential dread for good measure. You play as Elster, a replica unit searching for her lost partner on a frozen alien planet. But this isn't just about monsters or jump scares. It's about grief, identity, and what it means to remember. The lo-fi visuals, PS1-era aesthetics, and cryptic storytelling give it this hypnotic, almost dreamlike vibe. And the deeper you descend into the facility, the more the horror turns inward. Signalis may have missed the mainstream spotlight, but make no mistake, it's one of the most emotionally crushing, atmospherically rich horror games in recent memory. The only reason it's here as an honorable mention, it's finally starting to get the recognition it deserves. But if you haven't played it yet, don't wait too long. The Void remembers. Let's end this nightmare list by flipping the script, because in Carrion, you're not the victim, you're the monster. This isn't your average survival horror. You don't run from the terror. You are the terror. You play as a writhing, fleshy creature escaping from a secret lab, and your job is simple. Spread fear, consume everything, and grow. The controls are fluid and horrifying. You slither through vents, burst through doors, and rip unsuspecting scientists to shreds with satisfying speed and brutality. But it's not just gore for gore's sake. Carrion turns traditional horror mechanics on their head. Instead of dread from what's around the corner, you become what's around the corner. And the game doubles down on the atmosphere. The pixel art style is grotesquely gorgeous. The audio design oozes with tension. And the reversed perspective forces you to confront how horror works when the camera turns back on the player. It's smart, stylish, and sadistic. A must-play for anyone who thinks horror is getting predictable. Carrion doesn't just let you play the monster. It makes you love being one. So there you have it, a list of horror games that didn't scream for attention, but crept right into your nightmares anyway. Some were quiet masterpieces. Others were straight up grotesque, but all of them slipped past the mainstream radar while crafting unforgettable terror in their own unique ways. If you've played any of these and thought, how did no one talk about this? Then you already know. These aren't just horror games, they're warnings, whispers, and waking dreams. And hey, if you've made it this far, you just unlocked our secret achievement. Don't look behind you. Don't actually look behind because I'm pretty sure no one's there, I think. But definitely drop that in the comments. To fool everyone else, this has been Chris from HiddenPatch. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check out one of our other deep dives into the strange, the forgotten, and the flat-out terrifying. Catch you in the next one.